I thought I saw Senator Laura. Oh, there you are. Okay, Senator Laura, you have 3 bills in front of us today. Item 5, SB 320, item 8, SB 376, and item 10, SB 451.
Should we start with 320?
You're going to start with 320?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. SB 320 will safeguard students' constitutional rights to a free public education by improving the process for parents and students to file complaints when they believe they have been charged illegal student fees. Amidst reports that many school districts charge student fees to participate in educational activities, I introduced AB 1575, which was signed into law in 2012. The legislation required the California Department of Education to incorporate pupil fees into the uniform complaint process so that students and parents can challenge illegal fees at their local school and appeal the decision through their CDE's uniform complaint process. Although AB 1575 has significantly improved the situation, some schools continue to charge illegal school fees, and the complaint process does not always work as intended. Parents have reported schools resolving complaints filed by reimbursing the family that have filed a complaint but not changing the underlying policy. Other parents who have won CDE appeals have reported schools refusing to comply with CDE's ruling or offered a refund. SB 320 will strengthen the local pupil fee complaint process and strengthen the CDE's authority over appeals so that the complaint process works better for parents and guidelines are clear to the schools. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. In support of the bill, please.
Catherine Williams with the ACLU of California. Can't say that we're particularly pleased to be here, but we were sponsors of AB 1575 and hope that the original bill would adequately protect parents and students from illegal school fees and serve the promises of free public education in California. A family's economic means must not dictate a student's educational experience. As is often the case, we are faced with a need to strengthen the process that was put in place. SB 320 will empower parents to work with schools to resolve claims of the charging of illegal school fees. We're concerned about the ongoing problems in the resolution of these claims. Informal resolutions present a distinctly disturbing approach. At least 3 parents, one of whom appealed to the department, reported to us that they were offered individual resolutions on an illegal school fee charged to multiple affected students. In other words, the complaining parent was offered reimbursement, but the same reimbursement was not offered to all affected students as would be required under the traditional UCP process. By fixing this loophole, SB 320 will carry through the goal of AB 1575. Furthermore, we feel that strengthening CDE's authority to help resolve appeals may avoid the lack of compliance with CDE's directives. We have been made aware of situations where an appeal was granted in favor of a parent only to be ignored by the local educational agency with no opportunity for further action with CDE. The bill before you takes a measured, balanced approach to increasing accountability and transparency in this process, and for those reasons, we urge your support.
Thank you very much. Others in support?
Madam Chair, Jeff Frost, representing the California School Boards Association and the Orange County Department of Ed. CSBA was one of the organizations that worked closely with Mr. Lara on 1575. We did end up supporting that bill. We are supportive of this bill. There are a few language issues that we are working with the author's staff and the sponsors on. Your staff analysis raises one of those, which is the role of the State Board of Education at the end of the process. We are hopeful that we can resolve those issues and be fully in support. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Others in support?
Madam Chair, Senator Seth Bramble here on behalf of the California Teachers Association. We strongly believe that every child is entitled to a free public education, high quality, and that pupil fees described here are impact both the access and self-esteem of low-income students. We urge your aye vote.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Liz Guillen with Public Advocates. We're in support, despite the fact we didn't submit a letter in time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Jeff Aka, representing the California Association of School Business Officials. Our position is support if amended, and I would simply echo the comments made previously by Mr. Frost. We very much appreciate the willingness of the author's staff and the sponsor to work with us on those language issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Others in support?
Good morning, Patty Herrera, representing Riverside County Schools. We too had concerns about AB 1575 from a couple of years ago and ultimately ended up supporting the bill because we thought it struck a fine balance. We share the concerns about some of the language issues and really do appreciate the senator and the sponsor of the bill and their willingness to work with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any others in support? Please identify yourself with the, I don't know that microphone is working.
Is it working?
No, but you can
Or shall I
shout.
just speak really loud?
Yeah, right.
Peter Red, teacher, Penn Valley School District. I speak in support. Fees, quite simply, turn into socioeconomic segregation.
Thank you very much.
I'm Jen Shilen. I'm a high school teacher at California Virtual Academy. Is urging your I vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Holtbeck, a special education teacher at California Virtual Academies. I'm urging your I vote as well.
Thank you very much. Any others in support? Is there any opposition? I don't think the committee received any. Any comments, questions from members? The bill has been moved. Any closing remarks, Senator
I
Laura?
respectfully ask for your aye vote.
That's nice. Okay, let's call the roll.
Do pass to appropriations. Lou.
Aye.
Lou, aye. Runner. Runner, aye. Block. Hancock. Hancock, aye. Leba. Mendoza. Monning. Monning, aye. Pan. Vidak. 4.
You have 4 votes. We'll leave the roll open for our absent members.
Thank you,
Okay,
members.
your second bill is SB 376,
376.
item 8.
Madam Chair and members, the intent of SB 376 is to address the increasing use of contingent or temporary workers to replace employees and the consequential negative effect it has on wages and worker protections. According to a 2012 report by the UC Berkeley Labor Center, temporary workers in California are twice as likely as non-temps to live in poverty and are on the whole younger and more likely to be female, less likely to be white, and less likely to have a high school diploma. This bill requires the University of California, when evaluating bids for contract work, to evaluate the total employee compensation package, including benefits such as healthcare, and ensure that it does not undercut wages and benefits of existing university employees. This policy is consistent with other worker protections this legislature has enacted, such as prevailing wage requirements for public contracts, paid sick leave for workers, and minimum wage increases. This is a cost impact to the state when workers pay the benefits and is undermined, and employees must rely on public programs for assistance and health care. These contract arrangements are bad for workers who receive lower wages and less workplace protections, bad for taxpayers as government shoulders the burden of providing benefits and support to these employees, and bad for the conscientious employers who are placed at a competitive disadvantage in the market. As a public institution and the 3rd largest employer in California, the University of California should embrace policies to protect and respect its workers. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Those in support of the bill?
Good morning, Chairwoman Liu and members of the Senate Committee on Education. My name is Catherine Leibarger, president of AFSCME Local 3299, the University of California's largest employee union. I am also president of the California Labor Federation. I am here in support of SB 376, which would require private contractors that do business with the University of California to pay comparable wages and benefits to UC employees performing similar work. A 2012 UC Berkeley study found that subcontracted building, groundskeeping, and maintenance workers are 2 times more likely to live in poverty and 3 times more likely to require some form of taxpayer-funded public assistance. In the case of UC, which already receives billions in state support, these additional hidden costs are ultimately borne by California taxpayers. Additionally, a recent ProPublica study found that temporary workers in California face a 50% greater risk of workplace illness, injury, and even death, as they tend to be placed in dangerous or physically demanding jobs without proper training or safety equipment. Right now, we know that UC has at least 40 private contracts in place, ranging from custodial and food services to groundskeeping, parking, and transport services. Cumulatively, these contracts involve hundreds of workers, tens of millions of public dollars, and primarily affect immigrants and people of color who are paid up to 53% less than full-time UC employees doing the same jobs. Employees at Impact Group, for example, provided custodial services at UCSF over much of the past 4 years. These employees were paid as little as $10.74 an hour with no benefits, while their peers at UC made as much as $18.67 an hour, including benefits. And I don't have to tell you what a difference such a disparity makes to a family living in the San Francisco Bay Area. As this body looks for ways to address the growing problems of poverty and income inequality, the fact is that traditional employment relationships are increasingly being replaced by subcontractors, even in the public sector. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, this trend has accelerated since the Great Recession, with the temp industry growing by 41%, compared to a 6% increase in total employment since 2009. With this in mind, it's important to understand what SB 376 does and what it doesn't do. SB 376 does not in any way affect UC's existing collective bargaining agreements, inhibit UC's abilities to subcontract, or necessarily raise the cost of doing so. It does ensure that where such practices are warranted, private contractors are not denying their employees equal pay for equal work, driving more Californians into poverty, or shifting their labor costs onto the backs of state taxpayers. Absent SB 376, no such protections currently exist. With that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote and would welcome your questions.
Thank you very much. Others in support of the bill?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Huiting Ye. I'm a contracted out custodian at UCSF. I work at UCSF Mission Bay. I like the work I do and train this university. As a custodian with Impact Group, I make minimum wage with no benefit, no sick days, and no vacation time. I do the same work as the UC custodians, but make almost half as much. This is very hard for me and my family. I used to cut the contract with Impact, and now I'm not working. I have applied to open UC positions, but I have not been hired. SB 376 means so much to me and to my co-workers at UCSF. Many of us work 2 jobs to support ourselves and our families. There are hundreds like me across the UC. We are dedicated workers who work at UC full-time, but we do not get fair pay and benefit like the UC workers, and can help lift us out of poverty and make so that future UC workers do not have to struggle like us. Please support SB 376. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any others in support, please?
Good morning. My name is Pat Gant, President of California State University Employees Union, SEIU Local 2579. We're in full support of SB 376. It's time for all universities and state agencies to pay a living wage.
Thank you. In support?
Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee, my name is Willie Pelot. I'm representing the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. 3299 is affiliated with our union. Some 18 years ago, the legislature stepped in and said to UC that having 4 classification of temp workers was unacceptable, and you made them address the issue and made all those workers full-time. Today, we're right back at that same place that we were close to 18 years ago. We're outsourcing of jobs without taking into consideration what this bill would require should be unacceptable. And we're asking the members of the committee to say to the University of California that you can do better than that as an employer in the community throughout the state of California. And if you are going to move in that direction, here are the different things that you will be required to do to make sure that we aren't putting people in a desperate situation and at the same time performing the great work at the University of California. We ask for your strong support for a bill that provides the kind of equality in the workplace that should be from the University of California when they take a look at those who that they're employing to perform the work for that institution. We ask for your strong support of the bill.
Thank you. Others in support?
Madam Chair and members, Barry Broad on behalf of the California Teamsters Public Affairs Council. We represent the clerical bargaining unit at the University of California. The real issue here is simple. Is the University of California going to be an entity known for the creation of middle-class jobs and a middle-class society, or is it going to become another part of the move towards lower and lower wage employment? And that's a real question. Our university should be a shining beacon of where we want to be, not where we could take us down to. Readerge and I vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others in support of the bill? Is there opposition to the bill? Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Laura, you were the one. I didn't see him.
Sorry, Michael Young, California Labor Federation, also here in support.
Thank you. Any others in support of the bill? Seeing none, is there opposition to the bill? Okay. You did receive a letter, right?
From them, yes.
Mm-hmm.
We did get a UC opposition letter.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Jason Murphy on behalf of the University of California. Unfortunately, we do rise today in opposition to this bill. I'd like to make a couple of quick kind of overarching comments. I'd note that it's been noted already this morning that there's been a trend within the University of California with regard to more and more contracting out. I'd like to disagree with that trend. I don't think we've seen any evidence that that has been the case. Perhaps it's the case in other industries statewide and nationwide, but we've not seen an indication of that at the university. I'd also like to mention that the text of this bill, the language of this bill, is written into the low bidding provisions of the Public Contract Code. These are the low bidding provisions that the university has been abiding by for the better part of 40 or 45 years, where future or past legislatures and governors and so forth have directed the university to try to do more with less, try to save money, and try to be efficient with our use of resources. Thirdly, I'd like to note that I think the underlying rationale with this bill suggests that we are contracting out in all situations solely to save funds. And I'd say that this bill affects a whole wide array of contracting out situations, many of which are not low wage at all. I think that indeed the university contracts out for specialized services, services we don't otherwise have access to with existing employees, and sometimes those are very high wage. So I would make those key points. In terms of the bill itself, I'd like to say that there are protections currently in place for many of the employees that I think some of the sponsors here are talking about. As noted in your analysis, there are provisions in both of the AFSCME contracts at the university currently, and if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to read real quickly from Article 5, which notes, the University of California will not contract out services solely on the basis that savings will result from lower contractor pay rates and benefits for services customarily performed by bargaining unit employees or that result in the layoff of bargaining unit employees. Those are the provisions of our existing contract. Again, I have not seen any evidence that we're not following those provisions and so forth. Later on in that same article, it notes how employees that may in some way be affected by contracting out are guaranteed a job at their same location, same rate of pay, doing the same job they previously held. Secondly, it was noted that this bill would not substantially increase the cost to the university for contracting out or for procurement. That's not the case. I think that the requirement that we would be calculating on a case-by-case basis the cost of both base wage as well as benefit costs before going out to get an RFP would substantially increase our costs. There's provisions in the bill that disallow our ability to renew or extend contracts. That means we're going to be engaging in additional RFPs on a more regular basis, and so forth. I think it puts the university into a difficult spot of having to police exactly how our contractors are paying their employees. That could potentially increase costs as well. And then thirdly, again, going back to the notion that we contract out for a whole broad array of services, I think this bill broadly impacts a variety of circumstances that perhaps they did not intend. Most notably, the removal of the exemption for personal services. I know it's a somewhat unique example, but we have cultural and concert venues on campus at a variety of our universities. UC Davis, for example, brings in Yo-Yo Ma, for example, every couple of years. Opening that up to competitive bidding would be a strange use of the bill. So for all those reasons, the university remains opposed.
Okay, all right, thank you. Question, any others in opposition to the bill? Okay, I'm seeing none. Questions from members? Senator Leyva.
I just wanted to thank the author for bringing this bill forward, and I look forward to supporting it today.
Senator Monning, and then Senator.
Thank you. I also appreciate you bringing this forward. I guess just for clarification, this bill would not prohibit outsourcing for certain specialty services, correct?
You're absolutely right, and I can have Catherine follow up on that if you want. But you're correct.
Certainly, this actually does not prevent the university from contracting for personal services. I think that, to place this in context, we are not looking at 8,000 Yo-Yo Ma's on campus. If there were, then certainly it should be open to competitive bidding. But no, it does not.
And with that Yo-Yo Ma example, I would think as this moves forward, there could maybe in the selection, whether it's the students making the decision or the administration of outside performance art, my guess is that is not what this bill seeks to regulate.
Correct, and if we need to further clarify that, we can do that moving forward.
Great. Well, thank you for bringing it forward. I'm glad to move the bill at the appropriate time.
Okay, Senator Hancock?
Yeah, thank you. I'm certainly going to support the bill today. I really believe that the University of California should be a model of what we want to see in the private sector and really throughout government, and not contracting out without taking into account the full costs of the labor that's required seems to me to be something that just it is not right to do. But I do want to clarify the Yo-Yo Ma issue, if we can call it that, because my reading of the bill was that it deals with contracted services, so that if you're going to an outside company, you're asking them to provide you with what kinds of benefits, hours, worker protections, and other things they have. That if you're doing, you're hiring one person, and again, because I represent UC Berkeley, I have an example in mind. A person I know who is a nurse practitioner who was hired to come in for several hours a week to work in the student health center, because they tend to have rush hour then. And that is not a contracting with a private company, it's the university negotiating employment with an individual. And I'm assuming that is not part of something that the bill would cover, that person would typically be paid whatever the university pays nurse practitioners. If the author could just comment.
Absolutely. Catherine, you want to take that?
Yes, this covers all contracts with the university. I think that you have it right, though. The clear intent of this bill is really aimed at addressing what is actually a growing trend at the university as well as across the state and across the country. In that, contrary to what the gentleman from the university said, the chancellor at UC Merced announced last month his intention to construct, operate, and maintain the next 15 campus buildings under a new public-private partnership. And UC Berkeley announced that similarly as well a couple of weeks ago. So really, the intent of this bill is about getting to that issue.
Thank you.
Well, let me, on page 4 of the analysis, I think the staff has asked some good questions, and I'd like to see what kind of responses we get from the author. And it said, ultimately, this bill would result in increasing UC's cost for procuring services and could potentially limit the pool of qualified bidders. What would be the impact on smaller businesses, particularly those who are disadvantaged or minority folks who wish to contract with UCs? Can they be competitive?
Well, that's definitely our intention with this. If Catherine would like to elaborate.
Sure. So, the question about small business gets raised every time a question comes up about raising the minimum wage, for example. And we've seen this question raised for decades around prevailing wage. But because those laws apply to every business, the playing field has never been shown to become more tilted against small business as a result of those increases. And likewise, that would be the case here. Every bidder is required to compete based on paying a wage that meets an appropriate public standard. Small business will face no additional competitive disadvantage, just as they don't on prevailing wage public works.
Yes.
Madam Chair, may I respond?
Through the chair.
Thank you. I think we would respectfully disagree with that point. I think that in many cases, some of these contracts are quite small, and expecting a small business to try to abide by the new RFP requirements could very well put them in a distinct disadvantage. I think also it goes back to this notion of how the university would be put into a role of having to police those private contractors in a way we've never done before. And my understanding is that to the extent that someone were to come forward and argue that a small business or even medium or large-sized business for that matter did not pay their employees appropriately based on the calculations that were required in the bill, the contract would be invalidated, and you get into a pretty dicey legal circumstance at that point. It have to be resolved some way somehow.
Okay, all right.
Madam Chair?
Yep, Senator Hancock.
Yeah, I just have to say, I don't buy that. It is always raised against minimum wage increases, and I'm sorry, we don't want our great public institutions to lead the race to the bottom. I do think, though, for the committee, it does underscore our responsibility to adequately fund the university.
Right.
And we're not doing that right now. But apples and oranges. Today, we're talking about reasonable protections for the workers who keep UC going. And I think the bill is important.
In that discussion. Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions? The bill has been moved. Senator Laura, any closing thoughts?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. These are critical employees at the UC who deserve, at some point, the basic protections. And so these are critical components to the overall UC experience. Senator Hancock hit the nail on the head when he said the greatest institution in our country cannot lead the race to the bottom. So I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Do pass to appropriations. Liu?
Aye.
Liu, aye. Runner?
No.
Runner, no. Block? Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mendoza? Monning? Aye. Monning, aye. Pan? Vidak? No. Vidak, no. That's 4-2.
4-2, we'll leave the bill on call.
Thank you.
You have one more bill, item 10, SB 451.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I'd like to thank again the committee for the great work on this bill. I accept the amendments laid out on page 3 and in comment 4 and 5 as author amendments. SB 451 encourages K through 12 districts to adopt educational school counseling programs, defines the scope of school counseling, and encourages ongoing professional development. School counselors, members we know, play a critical role in our schools, developing school schedules, keeping students on track to meet high school graduation requirements, fulfilling college admissions requirements, applying for financial aid, and a whole host of other issues with our students. Additionally, counselors improve school climate by helping students manage social and emotional issues, as well as performing strategic interventions on issues so important as bullying. However, California, members, is the worst student-to-counselor ratio in the country, with a margin of 1 counselor for every 1,000 students. Further compounding the problem, unlike many professions in California's K-12 system, there is limited and outdated scope practice for school counselors. Research has demonstrated, most recently in 2014, UC Irvine study, that the higher number of counselors in a K-12 school is strongly associated with higher ratios of college enrollment and, among other, improved student outcomes. As we strive to improve our education system and implement the local control funding formula, counselors can play a key role in addressing equity challenges and meeting the 8 state priorities outlined by the LC, the Local Control Accountability Plans, which include school climate, high school graduation rates, and access to college preparation courses, among many others. SB 451 is a crucial first step for California to strengthen the presence of school counselors in our schools and support our students. I respectfully ask for your aye votes.
Thank you. Those in support of the bill?
My name is Dr. Loretta Whitson. I'm representing the California Association of School Counselors in support of SB 451. This updates the Ed Code 49600, authorizing school districts to provide the structures for a comprehensive educational counseling program to meeting the growing demands of California's K-12 students. This is long overdue. In fact, nearly 30 years has gone by since this section of the Ed Code has been revised. 49600 serves as a guide for school administrators and school counselors. It's the go-to section in the Ed Code that outlines the roles and responsibilities of school counselors in our state. Education has evolved, as well as the school counseling profession, over the last 30 years, to say the least, and the passage of 451 is essential to keeping up with the changing times and requirements. As Senator Laura said, it's very timely in regards to the local control funding formula, in particular foster care, English language learners, socially economic disadvantaged students that school counselors so often reach out to. Senator Laura also talked about some of the research out there, but school counselors are very effective in increasing our college going rates, in particular high poverty schools. They decrease suicide, mental health issues, academic achievement. There's a lot of empirical research out there. I'd also be remiss to not say that at the middle school level, they are very effective in reducing the things that happen in middle school, like gossiping and cyberbullying that we've talked about in the past, and at the elementary level, increasing our attendance rates and increasing and decreasing the referrals to the office and suspensions and such. So with all that, I appreciate your aye vote on this bill. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today.
Thank you very much. Others in support?
Madam Chair, Tony Triguero on behalf of the California Teachers Association. Since 2008 and the Great Recession, many districts have eliminated or reduced substantially the amount of student support service personnel, including counselors, librarians, and nurses. We've not seen those positions being restored at this point. For those schools and those with limited amounts of staff, we think that 451 provides a roadmap of best practices. Counselors provide support to students, to teachers, and to parents. They assist improving school climate, closing the achievement gap, and impacting and influencing student success. We like the notion that this is not a mandate, and it merely provides the encouragement and a roadmap for districts. We think the time has come. We encourage an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Leangela Reed on behalf of the California Association for the Gifted. SB 451 will ensure services for students of all levels, on all academic, social, and emotional levels, and for that reason, we ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. Any others in support of the bill? Is there opposition? The committee did not receive any. Any questions from members?
I would move the bill.
The bill has been moved. Closing remarks, Senator
Thank
Laura?
you. Thank you, Madam Chair, members. You know, this on a very personal note for me, it was a school counselor that literally saved my life and that of my siblings. You know, having an opportunity to speak to somebody who may not be a teacher, and we talk about janitors, we talk about the secretaries in the schools, all those, and the counselors contribute to the success of the students and are able to catch our students at different points in their lives. And so if it wasn't for that counselor that said that, yes, you can read English, you can succeed, I wouldn't be here today. And so I think it's time for us to acknowledge the great contribution of our counselors and allow them to come back to our schools, because we know that they're paramount in the success of our students here in California. I
Thank you.
respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you very much. With that, let's call the roll.
Do pass as amended. Lou?
Aye.
Lou, aye. Runner?
No.
Runner, no. Block? Hancock?
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Leyva?
Aye.
Leyva, aye. Mendoza? Monning? Monning, aye. Pan? Vidak?
Aye.
Vidak, aye. That's 5.
5 votes, sufficient for passage. We'll keep the roll open for absent members.
Thank you,
very
Madam Chair,
much.
members.
Okay, Senator Gaines, you have item 14, SB 605. This is the third time he's been with this particular bill.